What's up, Super Fiends? It's I with a bow, and today I have a spicy deck list for you, and it is live by the one and die by the one. And by one, I'm talking about the one check. Double front beatdown. A card that's pretty good with Deku or Bakugo, and you can build foundations. It's a very aggressive card, and if you check it, it's a one. So let's go straight into the deck. This is an air build, and we are playing 54 cards. This is not your standard 50 card deck, and the reason being is because there's abilities in this deck that are scaling abilities, which look at how many different cards in your discard pile, and for that reason, because we go through the deck so fast, we want to play more than your 50 card just so we can guarantee that sweet spot for when it's time to go in. We play 4 copies of Double Front Beatdown, which is the entire reason to play this deck. It's a gimmick, but it can be very powerful. It's very glass cannon. You either win your game or you lose, and the goal of this deck profile and building this deck was to make it consistent as possible. That being said, it is a 4 high for 6, which is way above average, and for a 5 difficulty attack, that's not too bad. The only bad thing about this card is that one check. So if you check a 1 and you needed a 3 or a 2, you're going to fail that check and your turn's going to end. But with this, you have the ability here. It's not too relevant, but it is Enhance Hand. Add this card to your card pool. Return this attack to its printed speed and damage. So it's really a defensive ability. It keeps your opponent in check. This will be really handy for any time your opponent's trying to go all the way in. A good example would be Denki. Denki likes to dump a lot of damage, so this allows you to nerf it all the way down and you don't even have to block. You just take whatever base damage is. The second ability is why we play this card. It is Bakugo, Midoriya, Enhance. So either of these characters can play this Enhance, and it is discard the top 2 cards of your deck, build all foundations this way, discard face up. Now this is powerful because they are face up, so you can use the abilities on them, and then you also get to free build too. So for a character that might want to push more damage and go all the way in and extend their kill turn, Double Front Beatdown allows you to build 2 foundations that can either net you cards, give you more damage, or even help you pay for the cost of the next attack that you're going to play. So it's essentially a super fast way of playing, and it's very aggressive. Now the next best thing about this card, it's a Fury. And with Bakugo, Bakugo can discard Fury attacks from the discard pile into the from the card pool to the discard pile. So really good. One thing I do want to mention about Bakugo in this deck though is you pretty much want to blow up a foundation every single attack. The reason why is because you build so many foundations with Double Front Beatdown that destroying foundations just makes sense. Because you want to put your opponent into making difficult decisions, and if you're not giving +2 damage every attack, you're not taking advantage of all your foundations. So yeah, I do recommend destroying foundations to get damage all the time. Next up we have 4 copies of Signature White Swing. This is a good card because it allows us to filter out our hands and we can get more attacks, and then also we have foundations here in the back that give 2 damage or make your opponent burn 2 health. So a lot of different uses we can use. It's low difficulty and we can discard it with Bakugo from the card pool. Next up we have 4 copies of Blast Rush Turbo, which is our scaling attack, and I think that scaling attacks are great. The reason why they're great is because to the mid to the late game, as you're filling up your discard pile, you can potentially discard 1 momentum and get +10 damage onto this because you have 10 Fury attacks in your discard pile. So because of that, this can be a really good finisher that your opponent's just not going to see coming. And when you're throwing 8 damage Double Front Beatdowns and 6 damage Signature White Swings at them and they're blocking or they're taking half or whatever, Blast Rush Turbo is going to finish them off. And that's why this is so crucial into the deck. It really is a Bakugo deck, but we're playing Double Front Beatdown. Next up we have Long Lasting Explosion. Big fan of this card, and the reason why I'm such a big fan is because pretty much all of our attacks except the Blast Rush Turbos are a high attack. So what this means is Long Lasting Explosion is always going to give speed to one of our attacks unless it's Blast Rush Turbo, which is more of our finisher card anyway, so we don't need that. But Bakugo's weakness, he has a lot of damage, but he tends to be slow because he doesn't have a lot of access to speed. But Long Lasting Explosion, as long as your next attack is a high attack, it's going to get +3 speed. And Long Lasting Explosion is a mid attack itself, so we're doing the mix up. We got the lows, we got the mids, we got the highs. It's very fast. It's a 5 speed, which is way above average. 6 damage is very above average. A lot of damage there. And yeah, you can play Long Lasting Explosion. Your opponent's going to want to block it. It's going to be hard for them to block it, but you know, it's going to put them into a situation and corner them. And then after you corner them, then you start going into your high attacks, give them damage, and they are even backed into further into that corner. So Long Lasting Explosion is just great. Really good Fury attack to put into this deck. And next up we have 2 Specialized Sound Waves. 2 Specialized Sound Waves. This is not a Fury attack, so we can't interact with it with Bakugo, and it's also Flash, so we don't even get an enhanced step. But why do we play this card? This card allows us to turn it into any other card in our discard pile. So if we have a Long Lasting Explosion, a Double Front Beatdown, or a Blast Rush Turbo, and we wanted one of these to guaranteed speed, guaranteed damage, or guaranteed build, we can remove 1 momentum and then selectively choose 2 cards to put on top of our deck, which generally is going to be one of these attacks depending on the situation, and then a Arrogant Disposition, so you can check a 6. And not only that, you are throwing a 3 damage attack at them, so they have to either take it or block it, and that's just pretty neat. Next up, we have 4 copies of Release. Now, in Air, you do also have access to Specialized Sound Waves, but we don't play that. So we upped our copy to Release to 4, and the reason why is because Zero Diff and Zero Diffs are very important in 1-check decks. Because turn 1 is the most important turn. If you fail a check on turn 1, you are behind. The game is not unwinnable, but you don't want to be that behind. So having zeros in our deck allows us to guarantee foundations, and then we can work as we go. So having 4 copies makes us not have to play special sound waves, the card that reduces 3 speed. Next up we have 4 Endangers. Play it because of the zero diff, but the ability here to -3 speed sometimes is relevant. Next we have Requesting Assistance, which allows us to ready foundations. We have 4 copies of Destin for mainstream success, and this is going to be the skill curve of the deck. The reason why this is a skill cover of the deck is because this card is not inherently easy to make choices with for the deck, because we're an aggro deck, and you know, because of how the deck is ratioed, when we try to call like attack, we're probably not going to get an attack, and then we just played the ability to look at the top card of our deck, which was going to be a 5 anyways. So you're going to run into situations like that. So, but all I have for advice is, if you ever really need another card in your hand, sometimes just call Foundation so you have an extra card. Next we have 4 copies of Amphibious. This is a card, because we're discarding cards from our card pool, this will ready up for us and we can double dip into our foundations. We play 4 Arrogant Dispositions. We only play this for the 6 check because we can stack it with her attack. And then also sometimes you just, if you check a 6 and you were needing a 6 anyway, it's really nice. Next we play 4 Latent Skill. This allows us to filter, and also has a 2 high block, which is not bad. And last but not least, we have these 8 beautiful cards, which have a lot of relevance to Bakugo, and then also a lot of relevance to the Double Front Beatdown. So one thing I gotta show you is Double Front Beatdown. When you enhance and you discard the top 2 cards of your deck, what happens is they go into the discard pile, and you can respond with burst speed while it's in the discard pile. Your opponent burns 2 health, and then respond again, your opponent burns 2 health. And then now they go into your staging area, and then you can also use Bakugo's Enhance to destroy them. Boom, this gets +2 damage, and your opponent burns another 2 health. That's 6 health burn. So really cool interaction there. Anytime you discard burst speed or aggressive temper, you can get a burn 2 or a +2 damage to your attack. And you just pretty much get that for free, and you can double dip again into Bakugo. You can also use cards like Right Swing and Latent Skill to discard these from your hand, and you will be able to trigger them, because all they have to do is when they hit the discard pile during the enhanced step, during your attack, that's when they go off. So as long as that condition is met, you get the ability, so keep an eye out for that. It's just really good to have free stats, especially when you're an aggro deck, and that's how you're going to be able to kill your opponent. I have spent many weeks building this deck, drafting it out, playtesting it, solitaire, fish bowling, all of that, and I am so happy that I get to share this deck with you, because I do feel like this is at its peak moment, and that this is the deck build that is the most optimal for now. So if this is your thing and you've been looking for a deck for Bakugo or Double Front Beatdown, you know, try the list out. Let me know what you think. If you're new to the channel, please leave a like, a subscribe, and a comment. I'll see you next time.